All right. Looks like we are good to go here. Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us once again. We have an interesting stream planned for everyone today with the bringing together of two projects, both native to Avalanche and also working with and have gone through or are about to go through an Avalaunch launch. So I think that's pretty cool. But there's also some announcements and features coming from the Degis side that are relevant to the Dragon IDO. So we thought it would be cool to come on here and talk about the game and talk about the Degis product and the solution and how these things are, beneficial and kind of work well for everyone. So obviously we have Andy here from Degis, who we've had on the channel before, and we have Sam and Paul from the Dragon team. So thanks a lot for joining us, guys. As always, we very much appreciate you guys taking the time to come on here and answer our questions and get in front of the community and hopefully provide some good perspective on the projects. So I'm happy to kind of get right into it. No need for formal intros. I think everyone knows who you guys are, um, and a better place to start would be with the projects themselves. So Degis, you guys have been live on mainnet for a few months now. I've been continuing to deploy new features and improve and grow with your community, which I think is awesome. But for anyone that might not be like really hyper familiar with what you guys do and offer, could you just tell us briefly about Degis and the products you guys have?
Definitely. Hello everyone, and thanks Mark for inviting me to here. So for Degis, we are doing more of a all-in-one protection protocol for Avalanche ecosystem. So
Hmm.
basically, we want to protect everything in the future for Avalanche, price volatility, and then also, protocol risk level. For example, hacks, smart contract, exploits, and also even rug pulls. But definitely, right now, what we're doing is the collaboration with Avalanche and also, I mean, Dragon Crypto Gaming, the ideal price protection. Yeah. So this is right now what we're focusing the most. We want to make sure our insurance or let's say protection is very useful together with Avalanche, and we can together bring the best solution to ideal participants.
Hmm. Right on. Yeah, and the IDO price protection is a new, certainly, concept and an interesting one that warrants certainly some exploration and further discussion, and we'll definitely get into that here today. But moving over to the Dragon team, I mean, you're a game. Everyone knows that. But I think an interesting way to kind of learn about the unique value prop of what you all are building is kind of like a two-part question. I want to ask you first, like, how would you describe your game and get an average like PC gamer, no crypto, kind of excited about what you guys are building?
Yeah, great. Good question. And hi, Mark. Thanks for having us on again. Good to be here. So, yeah, why would this get someone excited that's into normal gaming? Well, the reason is we're avid gamers ourselves. And this is going to be a retro style RPG with a modern twist. So, it's going to have modern mechanics, but it's going to have a real retro style feel to it.
Hmm.
So, if you've ever played Diablo, Heroes of Might and Magic, or any of the numerous other really popular classic RPGs, when you play The Legend of Rome Draconis, you will see the inspiration that we have gathered from those games in the past. So you're not going to be left out in the cold with some new game that you don't know what's going on. It's very the style is very much taken from classic RPGs that we've all grown up and we all love. And even if you haven't grown up with them necessarily, I mean, Diablo's still a very modern game. It's still very
Hmm.
popular, so you will know this RPG, and it's a really good reason to get in and play it.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Well, now, so like for the other part of the question, right? as sort of like a follow up to that. Um, how would you describe the game to like an avid GameFi enthusiast, right? So someone that is very in tune with crypto and what's going on with blockchain and gaming, and how does it depart from a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing in GameFi and differentiate itself and bring value in that way?
Yeah, good question. So for the first part of that question, we basically take the classic RPG experience and we turn it on its head. So as you know, if you're playing something like Diablo, everything's on a game server and you don't own anything. It's literally happened quite recently where one of the more popular games on, I think it was the Epic Store,
Hmm.
if you don't own, what happened was it revoked ownership of one of the DLCs. I think it was you can no longer play a DLC for one of the games. So we're kind of turning that on the head. Everything in game is going to be owned by you. They're all NFTs. So this is where it ties into the blockchain. When you fight an enemy and you level up, that will level up your NFT, which you own. It's in your wallet. We cannot take off you. If you get items, so weapons, armor, potions, scrolls, blueprints, whatever it is, we cannot take those off you. They are yours. They are in your wallet. They're NFTs. We cannot touch those. And yeah, basically the whole gameplay. When you fight a battle and you win a battle, you will be awarded tokens, which again are in your wallet. They're not air tokens anymore. Instead of just getting some meaningless gold that you can use in a game, you will actually get a token that's
Right.
worth real money. So yeah, that basically ties it into the sort of the gamify side of things. It's all about player ownership,
Hmm.
not server owned. It's not owned by us. As for your second one, how do we depart gamify business as usual? So one of the things that really separates us is the fact that we have a game. Like this is a proper game that you can play today.
Hmm.
It's been out for months. You can buy a hero and you can come into the beta and you can try this. You can see exactly what we're going to do, what state the game is in, and where it's going to be as soon as it's released to mainnet. So we just feel that we're kind of step above most of the sort of competition at the moment. Most of what's offering, which is basically just yield farms with a gamified interface. We actually offer a full RPG experience. You can level up your characters, you can assign stat points, fight increasingly stronger enemies, you can mine, you can gather, you can craft, and so on and so forth. It's a
Hmm.
proper RPG experience on the
Hmm.
blockchain right now. So
Hmm.
that's what we feel sort of separates us from the business as usual.
Hmm. Hmm. And how long have you guys been working on the development?
Oh, that's a good, yeah, a long time. It feels like it's since last August we really start getting into this.
Uh-huh.
And as you know, in Gamify years, that's probably a decade at this stage in crypto years. So
Uh,
yeah, last August we've been working on this since then.
okay. And I think slightly before, obviously people were doing gaming back then, but slightly before the real, unadulterated GameFi hype kind of took off. So what made you guys driven to want to build a blockchain game?
Yeah, so well, Sam is kind of the driver behind all of this. So I'm not sure if he wants to take this question.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, I mean, I've been working on games sort of like as a hobby for well ever since I was about 8 or so, and it's always been a passion, sort of building those games. Just playing around. I ran a few Ultima Online servers as well, so that sort of stayed in the background while I was doing my professional career. I still kept on making games to keep my sort of passion going. And I think I got into crypto quite early on as well. Went off it for a bit, came back again, and started learning a bit more about sort of blockchain games, and thought, why not combine these two passions I have into something I'd really like to play myself.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, that makes sense. Um, Pretty cool. I mean, it's a long time to be working on games. I'm sure you've seen things change a lot.
For
Okay,
sure.
cool, cool. Well, Andy, coming back to you and the idea of IDO insurance or IDO protection, or whatever you want to call it. Where was the genesis of this idea for you? Like, why did this become important for you to build and prioritize it, right? Over some of the other things that I'm sure you guys want to build or are currently working on.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that is a very good question. So for ideal price protection, this is how we call it. This one actually leveraged fully the potential of Degis price protection model. So how we use is actually a very dynamic AMM model. People price, the protection. It's actually
Mhm.
not sold by us. We are actually a marketplace. People sell, people buy. And also, there are people providing liquidity, and we see a perfect fit that we can host the ideal price protection
Yeah.
because especially right now, I mean with the model and also with the market situation, ideal price, it may be very volatile. So let's say when users they buy a bunch of ideal tokens, the best way to ensure or let's say protect themselves against volatility is to get their insurance. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that is why we see the fit.
Yeah. So, just another way to offer more protection for something that your regular crypto user often does outside of, hey, I own this token. I'm worried about the price, or I'm in this smart contract and I'm worried about its security. It's like, I like to participate in launches, and I'd like to be, more flexible there. I think it's, makes a lot of sense. And we were like, obviously excited about the idea when you brought it to us, simply because we're always interested in giving our users a better experience, more options, and just kind of pushing the space forward in whatever little ways that we can. Um, but the idea of IDO protection, I think, when you start to think about it, is kind of a complex one, or a nuanced one, and you can
Mhm.
start to ask certain questions about it that we'll get into like a little bit later. But really, at the end of the day, it's just a tool for users to have more flexibility in crypto around their assets. It's just another tool. But very, very practically speaking, right? Because this is important. Um, these are great concepts, and I don't think anyone would disagree that insurance and security is important. But very, very practically, could you tell us about the experience for a user when it comes to purchasing IDO protection? So, for example, right, we have the Dragon crypto game, crypto gaming IDO coming up, and I say buy $100 in that sale. Um, then what? How do I make sure that I'm understanding like how much insurance I need, and how do I make sure that I'm you know paying a good price for it, or not paying too much, or ensuring the amounts, right? Because these are what people wonder about, right? So tell us about the user experience, and how you've made sure that people are going and purchasing the right thing relative to an ideal allocation.
Perfect. So let's say, you got a 100 USD position in IDO. So the
Mhm.
thing you can try to hedge yourself using DJ's IDO price protection is you can buy, let's say a position of DJ's IDO price protection of worth total 50 US dollar. So which
Mhm.
means that you're hedging off $50 risk, and also you can try to buy it $100, so which means they're hedging full risk. The thing why is different because people are have different risk appetite, right?
Right.
So some people believe that the market is better, some people believe it's not. Some people is more bullish, and some people is somewhat not. Yeah, it's different from people. And also, when people buy it, actually the price is also different because we use MA models to price it. So, for example, let's say when the price of one protection, which fully pays out in $1, is $0.5. Then when if you buy a $50 allocation, it's $25. So that's
Hmm.
how it works.
Hmm.
And there are definitely some mass calculation going on. So in the future, what we plan also is to aggregate some mass calculators for you to see how, much allocation you buy, which means how much you pay and how much you're going to cover. But now,
Hmm.
yeah, we have some examples in our Medium articles. Maybe you
Yeah.
need some calculations. But I believe that'll be good enough to explain.
Okay. And so, just to be clear, um, when someone goes and purchases IDO protection, it is the against the price of the IDO on the platform. So, say the token price was 50 cents. You are being, the strike price essentially on that insurance is 50
Exactly.
cents. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty straightforward. Okay, yeah, very cool. There's the design, the AMM design of Degis um, presents a lot of very um, interesting um, interesting realities around the protocol that like aren't necessarily obvious. Whereas other insurance protocols, like maybe you go and you say, I have this money in this smart contract, like I want to buy a policy. Like, what's that going to cost me? Degis relies on an open free market and AMM pools where one, you don't even need to own the asset to participate in the insurance, and two, you actually don't even need to be purchasing insurance to provide liquidity and participate in the ecosystem and earn fees. And I think it's a very good example of a useful, like totally permissionless system. So I'd encourage anyone that hasn't dug into it to take a look at it because it's pretty interesting. But since we have both of you guys here, and uh, Dragon Crypto as a game, and Degis is an insurance protocol, it seems like pretty different ideas and things like all together, and in some ways that's true. Um, but I thought it would be kind of cool to like explore the ways that you guys aren't different, right? So, for example, like what kind of mechanics are there in Dragon Crypto or elements or smart contracts that could be, qualify as something like DeFi or other elements of crypto besides, I'm pressing buttons and playing a game.
Yeah, so that's a tough question to answer, but yes, there are obviously always similarities because we're both sort of DeFi, crypto kind of areas.
Hmm.
So one way, I mean, would be quite simply the smart contracts themselves. Once you put them on the blockchain, there's a single source of truth. So that's always going to be similar, no matter where you are, whether it's in this case insurance or if it's gamified. It's just one single source of truth. It's trackable and traceable by everybody. And
Hmm.
yeah, so that's obviously the most obvious sort of similarity between the two of us. The second is kind of, I'm not sure if DGIS is going to go this way in the future, but something like governance votes, where you
Hmm.
can use your smart contracts to actually allow your supporters or people who purchase protection in this case to actually vote on either trivial things or
Hmm.
non-trivial things, depending on which angle you go for. But
All
it's
right.
something that kind of unifies the industries, as you can actually get your investors involved, get them voting directly, and get them a sort of a peer-driven kind of decision-making process going. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think they're sort of the two main similarities between ourselves. But I'm sure Andy might have a more insightful comment on that. Sure.
Well, I thought that was I thought that was a pretty good answer. So, like Andy, same question. Like, what is there any part of Degis that you would consider, gamified or any other similarities that you might see between the two?
Yeah, GameFi is actually a great topic. Not only requires ability, the ability of the team to make a game, and also, it's the creation behind. So, for example, GameFi is usually, a good appeal to all the audience. People would recognize it or like it more. in terms of regarding what's DeFi, because GameFi is somewhat more interesting, it's fascinating, and
Yeah.
also it has more creative elements. So when we do Degis, we were also thinking about building our own culture. So we also did Degis NFT. It was a story about there are a bunch of warriors who
Yeah, that's
fight a
right.
dragon. I mean, yeah, I mean not the dragon here, but I mean, yeah, it's a dragon that just like the, let's say, risk in the crypto world.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
that's where we see the GameFi elements. And
Yeah.
also, I mean, we plan to extend it more in the future because actually our community loves it. And also, we believe we should learn a lot from the Dragon Crypto Gaming team.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, geez, I mean, I forgot. You guys also have dragons.
Yeah.
That's like the most obvious one. I completely.
Partnership forged in
Yeah,
fire, eh?
that's right, dude. This
Yeah.
is this is more obvious than I realized. Um, Dude, that's actually pretty funny. Um, well, this next question is more for the Dragon team, and if you go to your guys' like website and you're learning about the game, there's an area of the site where you like very like specifically call out like a couple of qualities about the team, and there are things related to your experience in game development, right? Um, but also gaming being like your real passion, and I think a lot of people say that. It's a pretty easy thing to say, but I think with you guys, that's actually true. You also say, you do not compromise. I think it's just an interesting thing to say, to put like right there on the website. And also that the game itself is a player centric business model. So, um, you know, I don't need you to sort of address those like kind of one by one, but I think they're all kind of interesting things to highlight. So I'm wondering if you could just generally talk about what makes you a qualified team, and why some of those things, the unwillingness to compromise and the player centric model, how they show up in the philosophy and execution of the game that people are going to play.
Yeah, it's a great question. So yeah, there's multiple ways to answer this question, but I suppose I'll start with the basic. Why does this make us qualified? Why are we qualified to make this game?
Hmm.
And I think one of the things that makes us qualified is the fact that we're such a well-rounded team of nerds. We are all nerds. I mean, as you said, you can say that, but in reality, we love games. I spend a lot of time gaming. When I'm not working,
Yeah.
I'm gaming.
Uh-huh.
So
And you definitely want a nerd building a dragon game. I think that's for
exactly,
sure.
exactly,
That's
yes.
for sure.
So
Okay, that
yeah.
makes sense.
So one of the things you may notice in games in particular is that passion-driven games tend to do very well. Particularly these days. These days, I find that the days of the AAA games are kind of, they're fading into the past. They're still there, obviously. You still have your big blockbusters, but I mean, if you look at the most played on Steam recently, for example, right? I'm
Hmm.
sure most people know Steam. They're games like Factorio,
Yep.
Oxygen not included,
Yep.
RimWorld. They're all Dwarf
Yep.
Fortress even is coming up now soon in Steam. So these are all games that are built by people that are passionate about gaming, and people love
Yeah.
them because of that. They know what the players want because
Right.
we know what we want. So we
Hmm.
tend to build games for ourselves, which happens to be a large demographic because we are
Yeah.
nerds, we are gamers.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's obviously one of the more important things. We know what we want to build, and we want to build it so that people like it. The second, as I mentioned, is that we have a very well-rounded team. It's amazing what you learn when you start sort of building your own sort of game from the ground up. But
Yeah.
what you do need is a well-rounded team. If we were all developers, nobody would probably know about us right now. We'd still be trying to raise funds, probably. We'd be back in the dark ages. So
Yep.
I find we have a very well-rounded team. We have a few developers with decades of experience. So as Sam mentioned earlier on, he's been building games since 8. We have myself, who's I've been a software
Mhm.
engineer for I don't know. I'm older than I think. I think it's nearly 14 years at this stage I've been developing.
Mhm.
So then we have Neothon, who's the other developer. He has his own business as well. He's created startup. He's been developing for years as well. So we have the technical side of things quite solid and taken care of. But then we have role writers on the team, community managers, and marketeers that are really looking after the other side of things They helped raise partnerships. They helped raise funding. They helped get the sort of marketing side of things sorted, which, to be honest, I would have fallen down on. I mean, I'd like to say like, oh, I'm a genius at everything, but in reality, had I tried to do that, it would have fallen apart, and we would be where we are today. It was a real good combination. So yeah, I think they're the main answers. I could obviously go through everything if you wish, but I don't want to talk your ears off all day. So I think they're the main points to get across.
Well, I mean, there's we got plenty more to talk about. But I think you're right. I think there'll probably always be a place for AAA titles. But you're right in that, like the games that you mentioned, and other indie type games, they definitely take on a different kind of culture and character as a result of being these um, smaller efforts in some ways, like driven by pure passion. Like you can always you feel these things and you notice them, and it generates a different kind of player and community. You're absolutely right about that. But I did want you to talk about the player centric business model, right? Because I think that's something worth extrapolating on.
Of course, yeah, good question. So, not only are we passionate about the gaming industry ourselves, about games and whatnot, we're also passionate about crypto. We've all been in crypto for a while now. It's a space we really believe in and we really want to see grow. It's why we're building our game on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, what we have noticed is there's some less than trustworthy characters in crypto. I think we have a bit of a bad rep at times among certain demographics, among certain people who are new to crypto. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to sort of make this more player centric. So we want to make this more about the community building. It's not all about making money, right? That's not really. I mean, obviously, it's a part of why we're here. We obviously want to make money, but it's not the main reason we're here. We don't want
Yeah.
to rip people off. We don't want to make millions off, the backs of ordinary people, which is what we are. So yeah, it's player centric. So even the first token we minted, DCAU, it's the entry point into the system. That was fully minted to community. The team actually took 0 out of that. We earned nothing on the
Mm-hmm.
first layer of the token because we wanted
Mm-hmm.
to get this token out. We want to build a community. We want to be trustworthy. We want to be somebody who you feel safe with. You can stake tokens and come back 3 years later and those tokens are safe, or 5 years later and those tokens are safe, and hopefully had appreciated in value.
Yep.
So yeah, we're really sort of making this player centric. It's a game for the players. We want to make this profitable if we can. And yeah, it's basically just about building the community, making crypto a slightly better place. Obviously, we're not going to do this on our own, but we hope to contribute towards this and sort of make this more about the players than about the team and let's get as
Uh-huh.
much money as we can and then close up shop and try again. It's more just about building a game
Right.
for the players
Right.
that will be here for decades to come that they can hopefully
Right.
earn a good bit of money on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know that to be true about you guys, just through our experiences with you, and we've known you for a long time now. But a lot of people say that kind of stuff. I think for you, it's true, and you will certainly have your opportunity to prove it.
Yes.
As the game goes on to live and breathe. Um, Moving on to like a kind of a different topic, which we don't normally talk about actually ever, but I think it's worth mentioning here, simply because this is the first IDL we've done in a little while. There's been some pretty extraordinary events occurring in crypto, in DeFi, some really historic stuff happening recently. So I think kind of it bears mentioning. And I think a lot of people, or some, not a lot, but some might wonder why you would want to launch in a market that isn't a bull market, right? And outside of the fact that that's just simply not possible, there's lots of different points in the market. But what drove you guys to do it now? What's important about the token to say, we're gonna come hell or high water. We're here to build this thing and put it out, and we need the token out. What drove you guys to make that decision?
Yeah, so it's a multifaceted question, really. It's not a simple "this is why" answer, but some of the reasons, for example, are one, as I just mentioned. Actually, we're not really in this for the money. The money is obviously something we want, and it's obviously something we're looking for, but it's not really the main focus of our game. And what that means is it doesn't matter if it's a bull or bear market to us. We're not here to raise millions upon millions, which is what was happening in the bull market, as you've seen.
Yeah.
We're here to get a game out that people can enjoy. They can play, they can enjoy it, and so on and so forth. So it's not so much about releasing in the bull market so we can maximize our profits and maximize the token price so we can make a fortune. It's more just about we want to just build a product. The market is going to be the market. It's here regardless of bull or bear. There's no point in trying to time that market. So we release now and we'll continue building during the bear. So when the bull does come back around, we're ready, and hopefully our loyal community members who've been with us from the start will benefit from this. So yeah, that's kind of one of the main reasons. But yeah, a secondary reason is we've also promised our community that we would release a game. We have always had a few delays in the past, but we did promise our community this. We have a game, we're going to develop it, we're going to release it around this time. And to do otherwise would be kind of like betraying the community, and we don't want to do that. We've built up a good community. We have a good solid core of loyal followers and people who've been with us for the last 9 months or so, however long it was we created our first TG. And we don't want the markets to influence that. We're here, we're staying here. We don't require much funding to continue the developing of this. So yeah, we're just here to stay. And whether it's bull, bear, it doesn't really matter. We'll be here, we'll be building. We'll be here to catch the next bull, and we'll still be there in the next bear as well, whatever that is in the future. So
yeah. I mean, makes sense. You told your community you were gonna do something, and you did it. Just like the website says, you guys don't compromise. Right?
Yes.
So I have just a couple more questions for the Dragon team here, and Andy, I promise we'll get back to you here in a little bit because I have some good ones for you too. But while we're on the topic of the token, you guys have a 2-token economy. You alluded to it. You know it. Could you just tell us briefly about the 2 tokens and the differences and why you released one prior to the other?
Of course, yeah. So DCAU is our first token that's already been released. As I mentioned previously, that was minted fully to the community. The Dragon Crypto team took 0 of the tokens from the mint. Any tokens we bought with our own money separately because we believe in this project. So that was mainly released to sort of build trust, build a community while we develop the game. So obviously we were not ready to release the game 9 months ago, but we know how difficult it is to build a community, and we also know how important it is to build a community. So DCAU was kind of the first introduction. It was a way to build a community. It was back when yield farms were all the rage, so we used it as a yield farm. So that was the primary motivation, was to build a community and to build trust, to show you that we're not here just for the money. We didn't take anything. It's all community owned because, well, we want this to be a community driven game. The second reason is, well, it's a bit of a lore as well, right? I mean, what RPG have you played where there's only one token? There's always multiple, right? There's always gold, there's always silver. And that's what Dragonorum Argenti stands for. It's Latin for gold and silver, respectively. Dragon gold, dragon silver. So yeah, it's a bit of lore reason, flavor for the game. You have silver and you have gold. Now, obviously, in game, these are going to have separate utilities. So DCAU is kind of the entry point into the system. So that's what's used to mint your heroes. It's also used to buy heroes off the in-game marketplace. It's also used to buy in-game armor and weapons off the in-game marketplace. You will also use it to sort of rest at the inn and heal your character. So that's kind of the utility of DCAU. It's also going to be used as a kind of semi-governance token in the future. So by semi-governance, I mean it's going to be used to vote for, say, game features. What would you like to see next? And we'll give a choice, and the players can vote and choose what we see next. But not like critical decisions. We feel that the team should be making critical decisions so we can move fast and make the right decision for the longevity of the game, as opposed to pump or bag short term so we can sell. And then that brings us to the second token, DCAR, so or DCAR or Argenti, wherever you want to phrase it. So that's the upcoming. That's what the IDO is for. So this is kind of going to be, the sort of crafting token, the land ownership token. So you're going to be able with DCAR to buy materials off the marketplace. So this is your iron ore, your cotton, your wood, your gems, your runite, all that kind of stuff. So what that will allow you to do is to craft items, weapons, armor, cloaks, whatever it may be. And to craft these items, you will need to pay a fee in DCAR. As well as that, it's going to be used in the breeding of our tiny dragons, which is another game. I won't get into it now, but you can find more information on the website about tiny dragons. But it'll be used for breeding tiny dragons. It will also be used for our land management system in the future. So when we release our land management system, which we will be, because you want to be able to build a kingdom in our game, you will be able to buy land with DCAR, and you will be able to build buildings on that land with DCAR. So whether that's a marketplace or a blacksmith, which will allow you to share in the in-game profits for the marketplace and blacksmith respectively, or a farm or a lumber yard, which provides you a particular amount of crafting materials throughout the day, or even just design new stuff on your to build cool looking aesthetic items on your land to make it look cool. That's what DCAR is going to be used for. And I could talk all night about these tokens, but I think I'll leave it there. That's a good overall summary, I believe.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was good. I appreciate that. And with I think that those utilities like represent a lot of important functions of a good GameFi token. And GameFi is kind of in a funny place right now, where it's simultaneously acknowledged as this thing with tremendous, like boundless potential, while also at the same time, being like sort of flawed in many ways. And so, as a game team that's thinking really critically about this stuff, I'm curious on your opinion on sort of how or why did the real rise of crypto gaming kind of maybe get off on the wrong foot, and what's it going to take to get us back in a better, more sustainable direction?
Yeah, so I think this goes. Oh, son, take it away. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So I think with crypto and a lot of DeFi protocols, the idea was sort of like, here's our token, that's a reward token. If we get as many people coming into the project as possible, we can keep this thing going. And eventually, you reach saturation and you've got a pure reward token that's purely inflationary. I mean, it's almost obvious what's going to happen to that token. You're printing thousands of them. Your user base has stopped growing as much. It's going to create, sort of like the huge sell pressure without really, any bounds. So what we're kind of seeing a lot is, that exact thing. They'll have a reward token that's inflating huge amounts. Sort of what happened with Axie in a way with the SLP token. It's just a pure reward. It just keeps on printing. So what we've kind of tried to do to get away from that ourselves is, each token has a utility. Those tokens get spent in game and put back into the reward system. So, we're not just giving people out of thin air. They're actually tokens that have been spent in game. So it sort of starts to close that loop up a bit. I'm sure Paul might have some thoughts as well on that.
Yeah, for sure. I always have thoughts, Sam, as you know. You can't shut me up most of the time.
No.
So, yeah, I think Sam answered quite well about why, what we're trying to do to address the problem. But, yeah, it does come back to the earlier problem I mentioned around trust as well. And I think we have had this in the past where, there's been a fair few games at this stage, GameFi releases. And I think one of the problems is the fact that a lot of these are just GameFi deal farms. So, as Sam said, they're just inflationary reward tokens that have no purpose, no utility. They're just minted out of thin air, and eventually you reach saturation, and the token hits a dive, and it just doesn't recover from that dive. Whereas we're providing utility. It's another reason why we're trying to build trust, and it's another. It's what GameFi companies are going to have to do in the future to really remedy the GameFi space. It's how the GameFi industry is going to recover going forward, is to actually have solid ideas, solid implementation, and a solid economy that can last the test of time, as opposed to, well, we've I don't want to name names because I'm not here to start any beef
Yeah, sure.
with people on crypto, but we've seen it time and again where games get super popular, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars are pumped into it, and nothing happens, and the token crashes and burns. And it's happened time and again over numerous iterations, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to avoid that now by gearing an actual game with an in-game economy that will help combat inflation and provide real-world utility for these tokens. Well, sorry, real world might be an exaggeration, but in-game utility for these tokens.
Right.
You can actually use them in the game to play the game and to drive basically the economy in your own token holdings. So yeah, that just to expand on Sam's answer, in my opinion, there. So
Yeah. Thanks for that, guys. That makes a lot of sense. Andy, uh, coming back to you, um, with the IDO protection. When we were first talking about it, and I was thinking about it, and I think when you're promoting it, or explaining it as a feature, there's an opportunity for someone to say, well, why would you need IDO protection, right? The whole point of the IDO is the thing does well, right? Why would I want insurance? I mean, are you sort of admitting, right, that this is going to do well? And I think that misses almost all the complexity of just the real world and markets, right? You can be very bullish on an asset, right, and still have a position to hedge, right? Again, it's just another tool. So maybe even an instrument or tool, sort of how I think about it, for a more sophisticated user, right? But at the same time, um, in understanding how the IDO protection works, there is still an opportunity for someone to purchase the protection that is, 100% convinced that this thing is going to perform well, and it does, right? IDO protection in the way that you've designed it still makes sense, right? So I want you to talk about that, and explain, like, how that could work, right? Like, how could I buy IDO protection and still benefit when the IDO performs?
Yeah. I mean, actually, the thing is, we designed the ideal price protection. It's not because we are short on the IDOs. I mean,
Right.
it's because the major reason is that we want to provide a option for people, or let's say a protection, a hedge for people to actually they can hedge their risk, and also they can use this as a combination to hedge their investment in IDOs. So that's the main reason that why we published that one. So the
Hmm.
thing is that the best result is the ideal price go. Let's say go boom, right? It goes. Way better than the initial offering price. So although you get nothing from the payouts of ideal price protection, but still when you buy it, you can do our buy incentive program, which is that every cent you're buying it, you can use the same cent to mine DG tokens, and also you can pair it as a liquidity provider to provide
Right.
liquidity in pools to facilitate all the transactions and earn income sharings. So that's
Right.
how it works.
Right.
There are a lot more options than you thought. Not only you're waiting for the payouts, but also you can
Right.
participate in the pools. Yeah. So
Right.
that's
Right.
why we are actually quite also, really open to the people who are bullish on the ideal prices, because this
Yep.
is also a good hedge for them. and also they can earn. I mean, although if the ideal price protection didn't pay out at last. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the coolest part, I think. I mean, to simplify it, you could have protection on a price, and it doesn't go down, right? Well, maybe you don't get the payout, but one, you get the appreciation in the asset that you're holding, and two, you have the ability to earn fees and provide liquidity, and the revenue off the protocol itself. So it isn't as simple as a binary win loss. There's lots of different ways to play this, as any sort of um, sophisticated DeFi protocol has. So again, I would just encourage people to really dig into the material that's out there about it, because it exists, and really understand what it is, because there's a lot of opportunity in it, and it can be as simple or as complex as you kind of want to make it. So very, 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 very cool product. And so after the IDO, Dragon guys, um, what can the participants expect? I always like to talk about sort of, they participate, they buy in. What's next in terms of deployment roadmap? Everyone's like obviously really excited to just kind of like move on with their lives in the game. So give us an insight into what's next.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the obvious answer is mainnet launch, right? Launching the game on mainnet, letting everybody play the game and leveling up the characters, getting the in-game economy driven, and so on and so forth. But that's too easy. That's the obvious answer. So for the actual roadmap itself, so what you have, so if you are already following us, you will see the huge amount of releases and updates we've been making recently.
Yeah.
We just dropped a massive release the day before yesterday, or was it yesterday? Sorry, I'm getting mixed up in my days. I spent a while traveling on Wednesday, so I'm mixed up. So just on Wednesday, I think it was, we dropped a huge update that completely changed how the combat system worked. It sped up every aspect of the game by a factor of 10 or something. It's much quicker,
Yeah.
It's much better. So short term, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be, bug fixing, because there's obviously bugs come with any big fix, but we're also going to be improving every aspect of the game that you can see at the moment. We've just introduced, for example, a day-night cycle, a map with more animations, a more expanded map, new combat, particularly graphical battles, in-game combat masteries, elementals. We've dropped a new crafter's guild. You can't access just yet, but you will be able to soon. So on and so forth. There was a huge release, right? There's loads in it. The notes are on the Discord if you want to have a look. Short term, we'll be improving the existing aspects. So we'll be introducing a much more expanded quest system. And we'll be improving the mining system and the sort of deep wood harvesting system. We'll be introducing the crafting guild and so on and so forth. More medium term, then we'll be introducing PvP, which is a part we're excited about. We'll be introducing land management and everything that comes along with it, and improving the graphical system for the combat. More enemies, more masteries, more detailed mastery system, more detailed elementary systems. And so on and so forth. So there's lots and lots planned for us. So that's just obviously a taste of what we're going to be introducing over the coming months. But there's some of the stuff I'm excited about. That's for sure.
Yeah, you guys are really going for it, and that's been the case for a long time now. I mean, you guys are definitely builders and shippers, and been putting stuff out really without asking for sort of anything in return for a very long time now. And it's kind of not much more you need to know about the team than that. But what about you, Andy? I'm actually curious for you too. You since the IDO have released a lot of stuff. Now you have the IDO protection. I think I looked this morning. There's over 1 million TVL in the protocol. All really, really impressive stuff, man. And I'm wondering what you guys have next on your list. What do you want to tackle?
Yeah, actually, the thing right now we insure is price, and later we'll want to insure more is protocol risk. For example, I mean, smart contract hacks, previous the hack of Harmony. I mean, it's very serious. The fund of people just got stolen, so we definitely want to cover that for sure.
Yeah.
So this is what we're gonna release in August and September, the protocol insurance. So that one, especially for Avalanche ecosystem. I mean, we're actually right now onboarding all the protocols, and we believe from there we'll finally build a shield for, I mean, the whole ecosystem, and I mean users can get massive adoptions because there is the shield and they can get protected. Yes,
Mm.
that's what we are actually fighting for right now, and we believe that that'll be a, I mean, good thing for people, and also, I mean, it's a win-win situation. There are, I mean, let's say common users can buy insurance, and also, I mean, even the project teams, the projects, I mean, they can use their treasury to also buy insurance, and also we can have underwriters. They earn premium incomes, but also they're insuring the whole ecosystem.
Uh-huh. Got it. Awesome. Awesome. Well, uh, since I always end up asking people, since we're Avalaunch and we build here and support teams here, and I always end up asking people kind of about their impression of it. And so, both of you guys being native Avalanche projects that have been here for a while now, I'd put that question to both of you, and maybe Andy, you could kind of go first. Like, why did you build here? What's it been like to be and work in this ecosystem for you?
hmm I mean, that's actually a great question. Because actually we started for building from last year's May, and started then we were actually quite bullish on Avalanche.
Hmm.
So I mean, we're always bullish on the design because I mean I'm a huge fan of the consensus. I mean that method. I mean it's actually I believe it's way better than Ethereum, and also the thing how Avalanche develops is amazing. So from last year, I mean the DeFi ecosystem, and then this year subnets, and then now I can see more protocols joining, people willing to collab and also build Avalanche. So we can see actually in these weeks, especially in this month, the market is bearish, but I mean the score of community and also the score of builders actually increase. So which means that people are, I mean, keep building Avalanche, people are keep
Yeah.
believing it, and this is why we're also believing it. I mean, for sure, and also we'll believe it. I mean, also in the future. Yeah.
Hmm. Right on, man.
Yeah, okay. So that, yep, leaves me. Just making sure I wasn't interrupting. So yeah, I think obviously the first thing that attracted us to Avalanche was the technology. So the way Avalanche, sorry, by the way, I know my accent makes it difficult to differentiate between Avalanche and Avalaunch. So apologies for that.
You're not the only
uh,
one.
yeah. So yeah, one of the things that attracted us was the technology. We've obviously been in crypto for a while, and one thing we noticed and appreciated about Avalanche was the fact that transactions were very quick, very reliable, which is very important when it comes to games, and reasonably cheap, which is also quite important. Obviously, there's cheaper chains out there, but in conjunction with the first two options there, first two benefits, sorry, it made Avalanche the obvious choice. Now, obviously, fees have gone down since then. They've just
Hmm.
continued to develop to reduce the fees. As well as that, they are continuously developing the chain. So, obviously, subnets released not long ago, which was a huge milestone for Avalanche. Now, you see a lot of the other chains starting to copy this milestone. And just the constant development and the constant help they do that initially attracted us to chain. What kept us here was the community. So we found the community very supportive, easy to contact people, easy to ask for help. Avalaunch, you guys being the perfect example of this. You guys have helped us out from the start. We got in contact with you guys early, and you've helped us redefine our tokenomics. You've helped us put in touch with partners and advertisers, market makers, VCs, et cetera, et cetera. You guys, you really helped build us from the ground up. I mean, just the other day on Tuesday night, I spent 5 hours on a call with either Mark or another member of the staff from Avalaunch. So the community really helps. They're always there to help. It's not just Avalanche, but this is the most obvious example right now. So we've spent a lot of time and we've gotten a lot of help from various community members. So it really kept us here, and it kind of made us glad of the chain we chose and why we stuck it out. So yeah, being rewarded in our faith in that regard.
Right on, man. Right on. Yeah, yeah. If they only knew, what it sort of took to kind of get this stuff going. Pretty. I think it's pretty easy to underestimate how tough this stuff is, but that's all right.
For sure.
So Andy, I have potentially maybe the corniest question I've ever asked anyone on one of these, but I think it's unique to this episode, I guess, because you've done an Avalaunch IDO and they're about to, so you've gone through Avalaunch, you've gone to mainnet. These guys are about to go through Avalaunch, then go to mainnet. You have any advice or words of wisdom for the Dragon team? Anything that you learned that you maybe wish you knew before? I know that's a tough question.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's a very easy question. So the thing is, when you got a Avalanche IDO, the thing for me is always participated. I mean, Avalanche team, especially Mark and those Dave, I mean, they're incredible. When we do the IDO wisdom, I mean, you guys just take care of everything, right? I mean, the videos, the advertisement, the promotion, and also all the facilitation, you guys did it. I mean, that's amazing. So the thing I want to say here is I want to congrats the Dragon Crypto Gaming team. You guys partner with the best IDO team, Avalanche. And also the next few things you're gonna do is just enjoy the journey.
Yep. I actually think that's it, man. It's just try and enjoy it, because it's going to be good. It's going to be bad. That stuff is very dynamic. So it's like you always got to find a way to enjoy it. And again, I do believe that you guys, you really mean it when you say that this is sort of a labor of love and a passion project, and that is going to matter at some point. Like markets get bad and people get crazy, and like that's the stuff that you're left with sometimes. So I actually think it's super 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 important. Um, to kind of wrap this up, looks like we're coming up on, I don't know, we always seem to do this exactly an hour. I don't know how we do that, but question for the Dragon team, and and another tough one, I'd say, because there's probably multiple, but I'm gonna force you to at least pick one. So if there was one thing that excited you most about this project, the thing that kind of has you, get up every day and deal with the stress and deal with the work and deal with how tough this stuff is. What is that thing about this project or this game, that keeps you excited about it?
Yeah, that is a tough question, I must say. It is hard
Yeah,
to pick one. But as corny as this is, okay, and this is a corny
corny is okay, man. Yeah,
uh, it is for me the community. I love the community we've built in DCG. There has been, as you have said, very stressful times in the past. We've delayed multiple times. The first mint, I think, was a few minutes late, which had us all on the edge of our seats. There's been a lot of stressful moments, but the community really sees you through it. We've been around now. I've known a lot of this community for 9 months now. I mean, that's a long time to know somebody, to talk to
yeah,
somebody, and we have a solid core in that community that have been around a long time. I mean, I consider some of them friends at this stage. We
definitely.
chat, in private chat, not necessarily just in there, but we share memes, we have a joke, we laugh. It's really what gets you through this more stressful times, the understanding and the assistance from the community itself. Now, I know how corny that answer sounds, but in my case, it is true, and it is something that really makes the day easier.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'd probably say something similar. What about you, Sam?
Yeah. So I guess for me, it's sort of like you know, all the progress we've made and how much of a game we've created already, and how much I like playing it as well. So you know, I just like to think about, you know, this time a year ago, you know, I had some wireframe mock-ups
Yeah.
of a really simple game that sort of
Uh-huh.
you know, sat on my computer. I showed everyone, and I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And you know, to go from that to, you know, something that's fully functioning, working really well, something I
Yeah, man.
really enjoy. It's just amazing to sort of create that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
sort of from nothing to where we are today. It really excites me, and especially, you know, if we've done all this, you know, the future is just going to get better and better. So, you know, that's really what drives and excites me at those slightly stressful moments I have at 4 a.m. in the morning. You know?
Yeah. That's very, very, very cool. Yeah, seeing that come to life, like incredibly and uniquely rewarding.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, we're gonna call it here. Again, thanks for making the time for us and our community. You know, we always really appreciate it when you guys come on and sit and talk and answer, you know, kind of tough questions sometimes. So thank you, Andy. You know, really excited about what you guys are working on and, you know, our collaboration. Dragon guys, you know, really, really confident and excited to see what you guys go on to do after the IDO. You know, we'll certainly be talking again at some point. You know, good luck, and thanks again. And yeah, have a good rest of your day.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having us on. Great questions as usual, and yeah, thanks to you and the team at Avalaunch for keeping us going and keeping us honest. So yeah,
Right
take
on.
care, everybody. Have a good one.
All right, guys. See ya. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye.